I think he left and
probably with the
then,
internet.
yeah, he got issues. Yeah, so he
all right.
left. I think he's coming back. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, there
okay.
he is.
Mustafa is here. There you go.
Yeah, he's here. So Muhammad, tell us about yourself so that we can like continue the.
Okay, what can I say? I mean, I have no idea who's watching, but I figure it's it's your audience.
Yes.
I'm a teacher of English, the English language, and I have been for the past 12 years, and I'm an advocate against the French language and its status in this country. I feel like what we're doing is wrong, and the way we're going about it is wrong, and I'm advocating against it. I'm trying to raise awareness to the fact that we're giving just a random foreign language more value than any other foreign language would deserve. And I think that's the topic of this live, isn't it?
Yeah. That's it. We were just speaking about this specific point that we as English teachers, when we speak about the place of English in our educational system, we're not really advocating or trying to give it a place because we are English teachers.
Yeah, of course.
We're doing this because we think it's right, because we think that's beneficial for our students and for our country in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can understand people who address us and say, "Oh, I mean, if you're like vexed about the status of the French language in this country, why are you guys having this live in English in the first place? You're having it in another foreign language. So what you want is just replacing French with English, which is a foreign language with another foreign language." And I completely disagree. That's not the reason why we're having this live in. We could have had it in Darija.
Yes.
But I mean, I'd be happy if English were the first foreign language in this country, because it would apparently open more doors to people, to students. It would be of more value and benefit to people who do research, so on and so forth. But the issue, I think, is bigger than that. But I mean, if you allow me to talk, I'm not going to shut up. So I'll just. I really want you to continue what you were talking about, and then I could just jump in and give my opinion, just like you.
Yeah,
guys.
so that's the same that's the same discussion we were having. I just have a question, and it's not just me who was asking this question. Like, a lot of people are asking the same question. Do we really expect something after this discussion that social media had? Like replacing French with English. Do we really expect something, some change?
Okay.
Or the?
Let me.
Yeah.
In vain. All right. Listen. I've taken a look at the ministers who were just sworn in office. The secretaries in this new government, and it didn't strike me really that the lot of them, like all of them, got their degrees from France, from some major university in France. So, including the minister, the secretary of education, of public education and sports.
Yeah.
Now the two sectors are merged. Now this dude he came straight from the embassy. He was the ambassador of Morocco in Paris. Obviously he has a French upbringing, has a French education. Then he went to MIT and got a master's in I think an MBA. Got an MBA from MIT or something. But like at the core of this guy, he's French. So you don't expect someone who's had a French upbringing to not even care, but to see that there is an issue already with the French language in this country. So I expect him to push for even more inclusion of French, the French subject, and the instruction of other, especially scientific subjects in French language. I expect him to do that because he's not in position to see the problem in the first place. He's almost half French, half Moroccan. So the same goes for all the other secretaries. So to answer your question, to go back to your question, what do we expect from this? Absolutely nothing from people in power. Nothing at all.
At least raise awareness. That's what we're.
And that's what it takes to raise awareness, to talk to the parents who raise their kids in that way, to talk to the teachers, to talk to people in general who ascribe that superiority to the French language, and to think that whenever they talk French, I mean, people people who think of French more than just a means of communication. People who give it a value, a false value, that it would make you a better person or someone who's from a higher social status. That's the mission here. I'll give the floor to my friends here. Dude.
Yeah, Aziz, Aziz, I would like to ask you a different question. Some people are not really convinced. You're saying that English is more beneficial to our educational system. English is way better, is less complicated, is fun, but that's not really convincing to us. Why do you want English to take that place?
Well, basically, what I'm expecting from the community, the society, and the people themselves is that, first of all, I'll be speaking to the parents, and whatever effort, time, and money they actually invest in, pushing and forcing their children to take courses in French and to go to French school, just in order to, wire their minds to think in a special way, and also to speak a language that is associated with a higher class in Morocco. So the thing is that we always think that only the richer, only the most mature, only the intellectual part of the Moroccan population is one that speaks the French language. But have you ever compared the French culture itself in the French country, which is France, with other like English as a mother tongue language speaking countries? Now, you wouldn't even be able to, put them next to each other. I mean, if you are comparing the U.S. To France in its way, its development, its whatever, the community itself, it's way developed. So people would say that language has nothing to do with the country itself. No, I do believe that language is a definition, an identity of culture and history itself.
Excuse me, Aziz, just 1 second. Mohammed, I think you can see an option of like a small mic below. I think you have the ability to mute your mic. Can you see it?
There's a little bit of noise. It's okay.
Can you see it? There's an icon of a camera and one of the.
No, I don't see neither. I see neither.
Yeah, because
icons.
I can. Yeah, that's why I asked.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're the host. Is there a way for you to make us co-hosts? Just like we do on Zoom.
Or mute some of us.
No, I don't have this ability. I can mute myself, but not you. Anyways, just go. It's just.
Mohammed, if you can sit in the car, that would be a quieter environment.
No problem. Just go. We can hear as is. So.
All right. So.
No. Tell me if it's better now. Tell me if it's better.
Yeah, I think it's quieter. Yes.
All right, that's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's fine.
If people would think that they are not going to associate the language with the culture and with how much a country or a nation could develop in the near future or even now, that's trivial. That's not even realistic. Language is directly, and I say directly, and I know what I'm talking about as I would say I'm a linguist, is directly connected to how much a country, a nation is going to develop in using its own mother tongue language. Now, we have, the three of, I would say the four of us would actually believe that using another borrowed language in order to integrate it in the system and try to develop the economics, all of the other sectors will never work. No country has ever used another language, borrowed language, and moved on forward with it. So what I'm saying to the parents, to the people, is that all along, in parallel with the fun and the resources, the information, the language, the English language has, you can also use it practically and easily. I mean, let's talk about just the tenses, the grammar tenses. There are only 3 simple ones, and then they are divided into 4, and that thing repeats. It's very easy. And if you go to the French language, it's really confusing. I've been studying like French since I was in 3rd grade primary school till when I was like in the baccalaureate, 2nd baccalaureate year. And it was really confusing to me. I haven't spoken the language. It's not a language I could communicate with people to people with.
Yeah.
And I don't know how others are doing it. I don't know how others see it as a fun one. It's a language, I do respect it, but it's not for me. Well, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, even if the language it's used like in the scientific domains, in scientific research, and everywhere you go. And universities now, I meet students like who are at the university, and they tell me that all the resources, when we look for resources, everything we find on the internet, everything we find published is in English. I would like to come back to Mustafa, and I would like to ask you, like, related to parents, like you told me you've been teaching for 6 years, I guess. Did you see like some change in the parents' attitude towards English? Because in the past we used to see like the parents, they ask more about French. How is my son doing in French? And do you see like some change in their attitude, something?
So when it comes to parents, it's really they're the latest to get the invite, basically, right? So they're always the latest in the pool, and I don't really take them into consideration. And just to point out what my friend said, Hasisi Muhammad, he said something about the minister and how his influence is going to be far-reaching into the educational system, especially with his French background. And I really agree. And it's really devastating that we kind of see the same profile over and over again in the same position, and it never changes. However, I really feel like the tidal wave of English is inevitable, right? You can't run away from it. It's come in, and it might be on the account of our own culture, it might be on the account of our own language, but we can either face the music or just hide from it, but it's coming either way. We've got to be objective. And when you look at the kids nowadays, as he said, you can see that kids are studying French from the 3rd grade up to the 2nd year of baccalaureate, and they can't produce a fucking, I'm sorry if I curse, they can't produce a phrase, let alone a sentence. And even on the streets, for example, nobody says "c'est mignon" anymore. They all say it's cute, or cool, what's
like
up, right?
French,
it's no
like
more
English words are really like getting into the field right now. Like the word "cute"
French
you mentioned is used a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. French is disintegrated, right? It's denigrated. It's gonna be left over. We're gonna be looking at it in the rear-view mirror, and it's inevitable, right? You can't help it. If you go to France, you can speak English, and people would still understand you. But if you go to America and try to speak French, good luck. Try to speak any other language.
No one will
good
understand.
luck. All right. So you can go anywhere in the world and speak English, and everybody's gonna communicate with you on some level, because language is taking over, and that's the truth. Whether it's sad or happy, that doesn't matter to me, because objectively speaking, we're talking about languages, and that's just a matter of the fact. English is taking over. We can either take a ride on the train or just be left behind.
Muhammad, the people are saying, why are you like speaking a lot about English language, and it's after all it's just a language, and maybe in the future Chinese will dominate, and we will find ourselves like what are we going to do, like change our language again? What would you say about this?
Look, to anyone out there who thinks like we're fanatics, we're English fanatics, and we're trying to throw French out of the window and bring English instead, that is absolutely nonsense. That is not what I stand for. That is not what I believe in, right? Just like Aziz said earlier, I do not know of any nation, any respectable nation, one that is moving towards progress and prosperity, none, zero, that did so in the way that we're doing it, that did so without adopting its mother tongue, taking pride in it, making sure the main language of instruction of all subjects are in that mother tongue. I don't know of any other nation. So to say that I want English to take over at the expense of our mother tongue is a lie. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
I'd rather much like, I mean, if you ask me to choose which language I want, like, you know, the kids out there in the street to use here and there and to code switch with along with their mother tongue, I'd rather have it be the English language, and for a reason, for a strong reason, right? It's a lingua franca. Everybody speaks it. You can step outside the country. Like, I used to go to Ceuta, you know, Ceuta. I used to go to Ceuta, walk into the supermarket and talk to the cashier in English, and this Spanish lady would answer me in her broken English and feel embarrassed that she does. I spoke to an immigration officer at a French airport in English. I can use English anywhere. You can't do that with French. That alone is reason enough for you to move, to discard French and move to English. Now, don't get me wrong. French is beautiful. I speak French. I was talking to my father this morning, and my father taught French at a high school.
Your dad is a teacher of French.
My father taught French for 37 years. Right, at a high school, and I was talking to him this morning about this very subject, and he told me, you know what he told me? He said, I was always frustrated. I used to talk to my students and be like, how come you learn English for 3 years and then you're able to speak it, and you've been learning French since you were kids and you can't?
That's the same question.
You know what my father told me? You know what my father told me? Out of his experience, he said, you know why, son? Because French is complicated. It is the most arbitrary language you can ever come across. It doesn't make sense. It's full of exceptions to the rule when it comes to grammar, and you add to that the emphasis that French people and French instructors put or in place on the acquisition and the learning. Like, if you make a mistake, if you mispronounce something in French, it's a catastrophe. It's a calamity. You know, you're cooked. You're fucked, and I'm sorry for the word, but it's not so in English. You could talk with an accent in English and nobody gives a shit. Like, everybody, you know, as long as you're understood, no one cares, really. That's not the attitude towards French instruction.
Excuse me, are you saying that the problem with the French language is in the language itself, or the way it is taught now? The way it is taught? Is it about the way it is taught?
It's the way it's taught, plus the internal system of the language, the mechanics, the mechanism of the language itself. It's complicated. Pronunciation-wise, tenses-wise, structure-wise, it is so complicated, and that's the only reason, and the proof is that the kids don't learn it. It takes, I only learned it in high school. I was only able to speak it fluently at a time in high school, and my father used to teach me that language ever since I was a kid, and it took me really long to learn it. So yes, the problem is in the language itself and the way, the attitude towards teaching it.
I see. So it's both.
I do agree with Mustafa. I do agree with Mustafa that it is inevitable. We will definitely see a day when I have 3 classes. I teach 3 classes of Common Core. You know, 14-year-olds. 14-year-olds, you know, brilliant students, I swear to God. Like, more than half of those kids, like in every class, more than half of them are almost fluent in English. Like they can talk about anything. They have beautiful accents. They talk well, very few mistakes. And when I ask, and I do ask them all, like every year, I ask them, I mean, which foreign language do you feel is closer to you? And the answer is just, you know, obviously stupid, and it's stupidly obvious. It's English. You know, you watch Netflix, series are in English, everything around them are in English, and they see the French is, you know, it's outdated. It is getting outdated.
There are more things you can do with English than you can do with French. Like French, you won't feel the use when you go to the internet. Students will not see the benefit of the French language. It's like everything in English. So that's Aziz. What should be done right now? Since we're talking, people are convinced, parents are like raising awareness. Part of it is doing something like this on social media. What are other ways we can speaking about teachers, of course. Speaking about teachers.
The only way I believe as a teacher that I could actually, motivate my students to be more biased to the English language is by actually making it fun inside the classroom. And as I said also this morning with my class, like, I do not own the vocabulary. I do not own knowledge. I am here actually to motivate you. I myself have never learned the language, the concept of language, or the language I am speaking in the classroom. I did all of that by myself at home. The way I speak to people, the music I listen to, the movies, and everything. So if I am to convince the students to use the language, English, of which we're speaking now,
just
echo.
1 second. Yeah, there is an annoying echo again. I don't know what's the problem.
Mohammed, did you remove your headset?
I'm using the internal speaker now, but I'm like, I'm clogging it. I'm muffling it so that you don't hear the noise around me.
Yeah. Did you just do it, or you did it from the beginning?
No. It was off from the very beginning.
Yeah, I think the problem with Mustafa. Mustafa is still using earphones.
I can't see Mustafa.
Mustafa, are you using the headphones? He's gone.
He left.
Hello?
He left.
No,
Mustafa is not anymore. Yeah.
I think now there's no echo now. It's good.
Yeah, no.
The problem was with Mustafa. Yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead.
As I was saying, now I would like to go back to one point before I forget. You mentioned something about the Chinese language taking over, and maybe because I think 1 billion or even more people do speak the Cantonese. Is it the Cantonese?
Yeah,
Mandarin.
Mandarin.
The one mostly used is Mandarin. Now, the language is also associated with the culture, associated with the country. China is not a liberal country. It's not a country that would actually entertain people in order to learn the language. That's first of all. Secondly, we're talking about a sophisticated language as much as Arabic. See what I'm going towards? Yeah. I'm saying that English is way easier. It's straightforward. Takes you to the point you want to talk about. And if you go to the internet and find 80% of all their scientific research papers and stuff like that, you'll find them all in English. You wouldn't be going back and translating stuff into your mother tongue language. I mean, that's good to do. That's really good to do, and you should do it. And a lot of people would mistake us saying that we want English as the first, as the mother tongue language in Morocco. It never happened, of course. We wish Arabic to be, or Amazigh to be the first. But French to be the first, the first foreign language spoken here, what makes sense about that? French language has psychological problems with itself. The French language is very complicated, that it cannot take you somewhere where you would feel some development and some prosperity. As
in the French language, it's like really sometimes you think that French, if you want to say 93, you have to say like 80, douze. So it's
Exactly.
like four.
Yeah.
It's like four 20s and
Yeah.
12. You see,
Yeah.
so it
Why
is a
would
language.
why
yeah.
in the world would you say that? Why would you complicate
Yeah,
stuff
I mean,
like that?
Look, if I may intervene.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I mean, there is a level of there's a margin of arbitrary. I don't know, how do we call it? Arbitrary play in almost every language. I don't know. I can't spot it in Arabic, maybe because I'm biased, maybe because it's my mother tongue. But it's also in French, in English. Make no mistake. Also arbitrary. Silent letters, things that you don't pronounce, things that don't make sense in the French and the English language as well. So, not to praise English altogether, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
But.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
These things which seem arbitrary to us are just natural to a native speaker. So a French person wouldn't see a problem. Of course, he would take offense if he heard us talk like this about his mother tongue. It makes perfect sense, right? But again, it's his or her mother tongue. I mean, I don't imagine a French person, a French lady, talking to her son in any other language other than his or her own. And you add to that, talking to or addressing her son because she wants him or her to be well versed in that language so that he can have better future prospects. Do you see what I'm driving at?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm talking about? So I cannot imagine an English person or a French person or an Italian doing what we're doing with our kids and expecting them to have better opportunities in the future just because they're going to speak the French language. I can see what that is coming from. I mean, if you ask yourself, I mean, why does French has this status in our country? Why do we hang these false, I call them false values to it? I think the reason is historic. I mean, the presence of the French colonizer who has been here for so long, and I really believe that it's not gone. It's still here in some other shape, way, or form. So it's because of that presence that we are left with the French language in this way. Mm-hmm. So to reverse that is really, really difficult, because it's in the psychology of people. Now parents are doing all they can to take their kids to private schools, and in most times, often than not, primarily because they expect their children to be fluent in French and to besides learning maths and physics and stuff. But that's the primary reason, and I can see that, and that's what's wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Especially when you take into consideration that these kids, I mean, if they grow up to be fluent in French, it doesn't mean that they're gonna have, better
future,
prospects or better education or better job opportunities. I mean, the most they can do is go to France, get an education there, and then stay there. That's it. And that's a whole other topic of its own. That's also problematic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know what? I used to meet many students with these difficulties with the French language, and these students are really brilliant. Like speaking about students of the second year of the baccalaureate, they're really amazing when it comes to mathematics or physics and all those subjects. But their only problem, their only biggest issue is with the French language. Yes, and they're really struggling, especially when they move to schools where there are students who used to study in private schools who excel in French.
Yes.
And so they feel really margined because
marginalized and crushed.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, add to the drama. Can you explain this to me? I was talking to a physics teacher the other day. I mean, imagine that now it's mandatory for science, natural science teachers, physics teachers, and mathematics teachers here in Morocco in high schools. And this has taken people, it's taken them by surprise that lots of people don't even know about this. That these three subjects it's mandatory now that they be taught in French in high schools. Are you aware of that? Now, the kid in first or second or third year high school who is studying these subjects in Darija, which is the closest tongue to his understanding.
And that's how he understands. Even if you explain to him in French, in his mind, he's interpreting things in Darija, in Moroccan Darija. Even if the teacher is explaining in French. Yeah.
You are
that's
just,
always his reference.
All right, you're doing two things. First, you're adding to the difficulty of the subject because, I mean, you're teaching him physics and mathematics and you want to make it as clear and as simple as possible. And the way to do it is to explain to him in the language that he most understands. That's number one. So you're making it harder for him. And two, you're deepening the social hierarchy, because the kids who go to private schools are not going to find a problem with that. They're going to love it because they're well versed in French. You understand? So you're going to make it maybe easier for the kids at the private schools, you know, kids who go to, you know, who live in major cities, and the rich kids, and you're going to make it hard for the poor kids, the kids who are not well versed in French. And thus you're deepening the social hierarchy. You're deepening the gap. You're making the gap even bigger.
Yeah. That's it. Aziz, you have something to add about this?
Well, basically, all I could say is confirm what Mohammed said, and Mustafa as well. I think he's got issues with his internet. I don't know, or is it probably just Instagram? One more thing that I could add is if you go back to the history of the language itself, English, and you look back in time, and you see that the Germanic language as an amalgamation of both German, French, Latin, all the other languages, and it's a new language. And you also associated with the cultures and the countries where it is spoken as a mother tongue. You would do the math. You know who's winning and why.
Yeah.
And why. It's the simplicity of the language and the novelty of it. It's the vocabulary there is okay. Let's talk about the vocabulary. Many people think that the more complex a language is, the better it is, and I don't think so. And better example of that is when you go to social media and how people speak. We like to simplify things. Instead of using you, we just use the letter U.
Yes.
We use abbreviations a lot. We like to go straight to the point, and English does that. English is the perfect language that does that. So that's actually the goal behind using languages, is to facilitate communication, not to make it harder. That's
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like now in Morocco, many people are really convinced, and I meet a lot of people, parents. I think even those in positions in Morocco, politicians in Morocco, they are really aware of this. But to change it, I think, to move to action, that's not easy as it looks. It needs a lot of time, a lot of work, because it's really linked. Because French is not just a language that is used to teach mathematics and physics. It is a language used in administrative documents, like in doing many things. Like it's like it represents the first language now. It's not just a second language. It is a first language.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason for that is something we referred to earlier. People in power, if not most, then all of them, have a sort of French upbringing. They're well seeped into the French culture. I have no problem with that, right? I have no problem with that. Personally, on a personal level, I have family living in France. I have my loved ones living there. I don't have no problem with that. But the problem is when you aspect of your life. If you've been to France as an official, as a minister, you know, as a head of, I don't know, school, integrated into the French culture, and you come home, you come back to Morocco, and you're sworn in office as a minister at the head of a ministry or of an administration so big, and you start making legislation that push for the advance of this language at the expense of your national language, then it becomes a problem. You understand?
Yeah. Like,
So,
link it to the new government, Muhammad. Like, if you want to, the new government, how does it sound? You told us in the beginning, it sounds more French than the other governments.
Yeah.
Well, man, I mean, look up each and every one of those ministers. And chief among which, you know, the one who's responsible for the education ministry, the education sector. I mean,
Ben Musa, that's Ben Musa? Shakib Ben Musa?
Ben Musa, yeah, Ben Musa, an ex-interior secretary. And he was previously...
He was the Minister of Interior, yeah.
Yeah, but he's just come from Paris because he's been serving as the French ambassador in France.
He was an ambassador,
now, this
yeah.
guy has a French upbringing, education. So he doesn't see the problem. He doesn't think that teaching our kids in Morocco, you know, people in the countryside, people in Jmet Foucault, people in the outskirts of major cities, he doesn't see that it's a problem that these kids are being taught scientific subjects in French, a language that does not relate to them in any way. They can learn French as a foreign language to study Voltaire or to study Balzac or to read about French philosophers. That's fine. Or to read French poetry. That's beautiful. I don't mind that. I have no problem with that. If the French culture and the French literature and the French history are worthy of discovering, I have no problem with that. But to discard your mother tongue and ascribe, and subscribe to the French language and teach your kids scientific subjects with it. That's the major problem I have.
Yeah. So it's really an issue, and we really hope that this situation will soon at least start to change, because with the lately they've launched a collaboration with the British Council, like
yes.
called it English Channel, and
Yeah.
it's aired on radio channel or government radio channel. And some people interpret this as a start to think about maybe like giving English some importance in our educational system, or at least try to think, because I heard before that they will start English from the first year of the middle school. But I think that those was just
I've heard that
anyways.
a very long time ago. I've heard that English will be integrated in the first year, as you said, in middle school. But for how long? I mean, it has been like this for I don't know, since I do remember, since my father does remember. And when we ask students, what is the issue that you guys have and you study in scientific subjects and scientific matters in the French language. Yeah. So the only thing they do suffer from is the language itself. They do actually understand the concept, the scientific concept.
And they're brilliant. And they're amazing.
Really brilliant and amazing kids.
Yeah.
I do remember myself studying scientific subjects in Arabic. I love the Arabic language and explaining those stuff. And I wish probably in the future the Arabic language could probably start developing itself as an independent one, and acquiring some and giving some legitimacy to its scientific topics within the system, getting integrated and being able to take over back again. I'm not saying that we should change Morocco to be an English-speaking country. Of course not.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that the second, or the language that is easier to help the Moroccan community understand better and develop much better is obviously English. And it would never be French. It would never be French for obvious reasons, for a lot of reasons. Even I think France itself as a country would never rely on its scientific sources and scientific researches without being also dependent on the English language.
Yeah, like even in France now, many scientific research are done in English. That's
Yeah.
yeah. So thank you so much, guys, and I really enjoyed this live with you. It's been, you know, it's been 1 hour. We didn't feel the time like went very quickly.
That was quick. We should probably be doing this very frequently.
Unexhaustible topic. Just to end on a merrier note, maybe.
Yeah.
I really want to say that, as a rule that I firmly believe in, change can only come from within, not without.
Yes.
So to expect things to change from the top is an illusion. What I would do and what I would suggest and what I would advise is to never shut up about this topic. To talk to people about it, to talk to those I can influence in any way. My students, my kids, my friends, my family members. Right, maybe share stories like I and you guys do on social media, and to raise awareness and sensitize people on the importance of holding on to your mother tongue. Because, like I said in some video, anyone's mother tongue is not just a means of communication. Any other language foreign to you is just a means of communication and should remain so. Not so your mother tongue. Your mother tongue is much more than that. It's the medium you use when you close your eyes and think inside your head. You can only think in language.
Yes.
So to put your mother tongue and another language on a scale, they're not on equal footing. There is absolutely no room for comparison. So change does come from within. You know, we the people who need to wake up from this illusion that French language is a language of prestige, or it should be a language of prestige. And and take pride in our mother tongue. You know, the language that we grew up with, the language that hold our identity and culture. And thank you very much for this live. Thank you for this opportunity.
Of course, it's been a pleasure for me, Muhammad and Aziz, and we apologize for Mustafa. I think he had some technical issues. So thank you so much, guys, and I really wish to see you again on another opportunity.
Inshallah.
Have a good day.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This live will be saved, guys, and you can rewatch it again. Thank you.
Please.
Have a great night. And just a reminder, guys, here, Muhammad and Mustafa and Aziz, they have a really interesting concept called Douazete, right?
It's Douazete, yeah, exactly. You can just join,
guys.
Or,
put it in the comments. Put it in a story, and
now,
let you. Yes. No.
So I think
in the story, I will leave it for you. You can type it for.
I typed it in the comments, and then you can just like.
Okay, so guys, you can go join them. It's a really interesting concept, and they had an episode on this same topic, the language dilemma in Morocco. Thank you so much, and have a great night.
Thank you.
You too.
Goodbye.